A kind single dad was quietly making his way through a crowded funeral, carrying the weight of grief not just for the lost loved one, but for the challenges of raising his child alone. Life had never been easy, and every day felt like a balancing act between work, parenting, and keeping hope alive. But on that somber day, something unexpected happened as he walked past mourners. He noticed a young pregnant woman struggling to steady herself, her face pale and trembling. Without hesitation, he stepped forward to help, offering a hand, a comforting smile, and a few reassuring words. It was a small act of kindness, nothing that would ever make headlines at least. That's what he thought. Hours later, after returning home and trying to shake off the day's heavy emotions, his life took a turn that no one could have imagined. A letter arrived, a message that seemed impossible. He had inherited an astonishing $500 million. Just like that, everything changed. His world, once filled with quiet struggles and ordinary routines, now brimmed with unimaginable possibilities and new challenges. But how did a simple act of kindness at a funeral lead to this life-altering fortune? What was the connection? The answers were waiting, but he wasn't ready for them yet. The single dad sat in his small, modest living room, staring at the envelope as if it might vanish if he blinked. $500 million. The number felt unreal, almost like a dream slipping through his fingers. He had spent years scraping by, working overtime just to make ends meet, and now, out of nowhere, the universe seemed to be rewriting his story. He thought about his child, about the future he had always worried about, the school fees, the little things that had always felt out of reach. And then there was the memory of the pregnant woman at the funeral, her fragile form leaning on him for support, her quiet thank you echoing in his mind. Could it really be a coincidence that these two events happened on the same day? Something deep inside him whispered that there was a connection. He couldn't yet see. Questions raced through his mind. Who had left him this fortune? Why him? And how could a chance act of kindness lead to such a life-changing inheritance? As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across his living room, he felt a strange mix of excitement and unease. His ordinary life was about to collide with a world he had never imagined, but the answers were still hidden, waiting to reveal themselves in ways he could never anticipate. The next morning, the single dad couldn't shake the feeling that his life had been quietly nudged into a whirlwind he didn't understand. He went about his usual routine, dropping his child off at school, grabbing a coffee, and trying to think through the implications of inheriting $500 million. Yet, every small task felt surreal, as if the world itself was holding its breath, waiting for him to make the first move. Meanwhile, the pregnant woman he had helped at the funeral kept appearing in his thoughts. Who was she really? There was something about the way she had looked at him, a mix of relief and trust, that felt like it carried a deeper meaning. He wondered if she knew something he didn't, some secret tied to the fortune now sitting in his name. Could her presence at that funeral have been more than just coincidence? As he dug through the legal documents with a cautious hand, more questions surfaced. The inheritance was tied to an estate he had never heard of, from a family he didn't know existed. Letters, lawyers, and mysterious phone calls began arriving, each one hinting at hidden layers of the story. Friends and strangers alike started reaching out, some with kindness, others with agendas he couldn't yet decipher. With every passing hour, the line between generosity, fate, and danger blurred. The single dad realized that this sudden fortune might come with strings and, not all of them visible. And somewhere, quietly, the woman at the funeral might hold a piece of the puzzle that could change everything. Days passed, and the single dad's world had shifted into a constant state of tension. Every phone ring made his heart jump. Every knock on the door brought a mixture of hope and fear. He could feel the weight of the $500 million inheritance pressing down on him, not just as opportunity, but as responsibility, and possibly, danger. Every decision felt critical, every move under scrutiny from unseen eyes. The pregnant woman reappeared unexpectedly, this time at his doorstep, her expression urgent and wary. She spoke in hushed tones, hinting at connections between her family and the mysterious estate he had inherited. But she stopped short of revealing everything. Her story was fragmented, pieces of a puzzle that made him both anxious and desperate to know the truth. Why had fate intertwined their lives on that funeral day? And what did she truly know about the inheritance now threatening to upend everything he had ever known? As the single dad navigated lawyers, cryptic letters, and unexpected visits from strangers, a sense of danger began creeping closer. There were veiled threats, subtle warnings, and people whose intentions were impossible to read. Every step toward understanding seemed to bring him deeper into a web. He didn't fully grasp with the fortune dangling before him like both a prize and a trap. He faced the most intense moments yet. The choices he made in the coming hours could change his life forever, but the true consequences remained hidden, waiting to strike at the perfect moment. Just when the single dad thought he was beginning to grasp the edges of this strange new world, another shock arrived. A call from an unknown number delivered a voice that sent chills down his spine. The inheritance wasn't just money, it was tied to secrets some people would kill to protect. Every detail he had assumed about the estate, the family, even the woman he had helped, was now under question. The pregnant woman? who had seemed like a comforting presence, now revealed a startling truth. She wasn't just a bystander at the funeral. Her family had been entangled with the fortune for generations. Her sudden appearance wasn't coincidence. It was deliberate. Her eyes, once full of gratitude, now held a warning. Trusting the wrong person could cost him everything, and perhaps even more than money. Suddenly, every friendly gesture, every phone call, every new face in his life felt like a test. He realized that the $500 million inheritance had drawn him into a world of power struggles, hidden agendas, and dangerous players. Even his small, everyday routines, the school run, the grocery store, felt vulnerable, as if someone was watching, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. The single dad now faced not just a life-altering fortune, but a storm of secrets, betrayal, and peril that threatened to consume him. The question lingered: could he navigate this maze of danger without losing everything he loved? And as shadows lengthened, the real challenge was only just beginning. The tension reached its peak when the single dad finally confronted the truth. The pregnant woman led him to a hidden study in the estate, where old journals and legal documents revealed the full story. The fortune had been left to him by a distant relative who had admired his kindness and integrity. The inheritance wasn't random, it was a reward for compassion, for helping those in need, just like he had helped her at the funeral. Every warning, every mysterious letter, had been a test to see if he truly deserved it. But just as relief began to settle in, danger struck. A group of strangers, previously hidden in the shadows, tried to seize control of the estate, claiming they had a right to the fortune. Heart pounding, the single dad acted instinctively, using the courage and resourcefulness he had developed, raising his child alone. With quick thinking and help from the woman, they managed to outsmart the intruders, securing the estate and the fortune. As the dust settled, he realized that the inheritance wasn't just money, it was the key to building a better life for his child, and a chance to make a meaningful impact on the world. But just when he thought the story had ended, the woman handed him one last envelope. Inside was a letter revealing that someone, even closer to him, had orchestrated the entire chain of events, leaving him stunned and wondering what challenges lay ahead next. The single dad slowly opened the final envelope, hands trembling. Inside was a letter from the distant relative who had left him the fortune, explaining that the inheritance had been carefully watched over all along. Every test, every challenge, had been designed to see if he was worthy not just of the money, but of the responsibility that came with it. The woman at the funeral, it turned out, had been part of this plan, guiding him when he needed it most, without ever revealing the full truth. With the estate now secure, he could finally breathe. The $500 million wasn't just wealth, it was a chance to create stability, opportunity, and joy for his child, to give back to others, and to continue living with the kindness that had always defined him. The pregnant woman, grateful for his help and the bond they had formed, left with a promise to stay in touch, her own life now moving forward with hope and safety. As he held his child that evening, he realized that life's true fortune wasn't just in money, but in compassion, courage, and connection. Every act of kindness, every small choice, had led him here, and though the twists of fate had been unexpected and intense, they had ultimately revealed that even ordinary people can step into extraordinary lives, one courageous decision at a time.